County and expressed in that letter that as a Grand County Council, they would like to see Love's not put that truck stop there, which was surprising to me that they would do that on the heels of this big backslapping meeting that we had and praising themselves and others about what a great opportunity it was, yet they had already penned this letter and never even brought it up in the meeting, never said anything to San Juan County Commissioners. The only reason I want to bring this up is because for a couple of months now, we have been hearing from residents of Spanish Valley about their dissatisfaction with what is going on down there, and especially about Love's truck stop. And even to the point that they brought forth a resolution. Apparently, I don't know whether Commissioner Mary Boy, you had your attorney, Mr. Bose, draft that resolution, or where that actually came from, which I was supportive of the resolution because I thought we were going to address some of the concerns that had been raised. But until Mr. Vlasic showed up today, we have not addressed anything. We've not addressed any concern. It's never been an agenda item for discussion. I would have thought at this point we would have at least contacted Love's and said, hey, we're the county commission and we represent the people, and the people have brought these concerns to us. Can you address them? Can you meet with the county commission? Can you meet with the Northern San Juan County Alliance group, or I might have that wrong, but meet with the people of the valley? We've done nothing. We've done nothing of any kind to address that, and it bothers me. It bothers me that we sit here and let Grand County Council start trying to dictate to Love's Truck Stop what's going to happen in San Juan County. Now, I think we need to look very hard at solving the problem and doing the best thing for the people of San Juan County. I hear about this moratorium in Grand County, about putting a moratorium to stop building motels. I hear lots of concern about water. I see a brand new water tank going up on the hill south of 191 in Grand County. I don't know whose water tank that is. I don't know whether they drilled a well, but if they're so concerned about water, it just seems to me like the only place they're concerned about it is in San Juan County. They're not concerned about what's happening in Grand County. And secondly, I counted 6 brand new motels under construction. If they're having a moratorium on motel construction, it sure as heck isn't being enforced.
Well, those were vested prior to the moratorium.
Well, anyway,
For what it's worth.
this whole thing is bothering the heck out of me. I would have thought, geez, if we've got a moratorium to address Love's Truck Stop, when are we going to address it as a county commission? When, David, are we going to have something on the agenda to talk about? What the economic effects, either one way or the other, with Love's Truck Stop going in there? What can Love's Truck Stop do to alleviate all of the concerns of the citizens who live around the proposed truck stop? Or are we going to just say, hey, we've decided Love's Truck Stop is not welcome. Get out of town. We don't even want to meet with you. We don't even want to discuss anything with you. Is that where we're at, or are we going to let the citizens create some kind of venue where the citizens and the county commission can meet with Loves and discuss what the problems are? I have ridden around Monticello the last week, every night. There's 8 or 10 trucks parked at Maverick. There's 20 trucks parked at Shell. I've not one time gone down there late at night and seen a truck running. I've seen trucks that had reefers on them that keep the product cool, but I don't see trucks idling. So if that's what really happens, and we're concerned about air quality and all the fumes coming up, I don't know. I just don't understand enough about what's being alleged and what really happens. And I think we owe it to Loves to have some discussion with them. We're in this moratorium probably a month now. We've done nothing to address, and maybe the purpose of the moratorium was to invite Loves to go someplace else. I think if that's what we're doing, the citizens of San Juan County are losing out on possibly $1 million in sales tax and property taxes. Is that what we're about?
That is the whole point of engaging the consultants and doing this work right now, because it's a larger question ultimately.
Yeah.
Right? What kind of stuff do you want or not want in that area? What kind of impacts are you okay with? What kind of revenues do you want to see generated there? Like, this is the whole discussion that's bigger than Loves ultimately. Maybe it was catalyzed by the proposal from Loves. That kind of predates me, honestly. But the idea here is to have this broader conversation about what you want to see. And if that type of development at the end of the day is what this commission approves in terms of the overall type of developments you want there, then that's your decision.
Well, I think we need a financial analysis of what the economic benefit or non-benefit to Love's Truck Stop is there.
Sure.
So make an informed decision. I think we need somebody from Love's to come and meet with the people of Spanish Valley and hear their concerns and be able to maybe address them if it's possible. Maybe there's something they can do to address those concerns. Dark skies, running trucks.
And I believe some of those conversations have happened directly with Love's folks through SITLA primarily, is my understanding.
But if we're concerned about all of the crime that's going to happen at Love's Truck Stop, I'm wondering, is there ever any crime that happens in motels?
Right. Well, yes, a lot of things get said,
Well,
as you know. I think it's a fair point, especially to say what is it's sort of an opportunity cost, right? If you don't allow for this type of development, what are the revenue implications for the county in that way, and what are the trade-offs?
Right.
What does it mean for traffic and impacts as well, right? The whole kit and caboodle.
So this is the start of that whole process to analyze all of that. Are we going to, at some point, are we going to have a representative from Love's come and meet with the county commission, this group, these citizens from Spanish Valley? They deserve some answers. They deserve to engage,
Sure.
in my opinion. And I thought that's why we had the moratorium, so we could go through that process and start engaging.
But I think it's within your district, so I think it's you can spearhead the organizing the meeting. I would like to.
Well, I don't want to do something in the name of the commission without the commission's approval. We have a resolution that says
Sure. Maybe Mark, you talk a little bit about process-wise and
Yeah,
how that
right.
Loves piece
So
fits in.
my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the Loves is, and I read this in the newspaper, it is the motivating factor here, but they have made an application under the current zoning, and that to think that it's going to disappear, that application through this process is, so we need clear guidance on that. We don't have that right now.
Correct, and I think that's a bit of an open question, honestly, with regard to where Loves is in a process with the county and whether they are truly vested and thus exempt from the moratorium. I think that's still a little bit of an open question.
Okay. The other one about the economic analysis, that's not in our scope. We don't have the experts on board to do that. We could bring them on, for sure, but that's...
Mark, I'll forget this if I listen to you for very long.
Yeah.
I have a short memory. Do we need to consider as a county having two planning and zoning commissions? Have a northern planning and zoning commission and a three-quarter southern? Would that just muddy the water, Walter? I think the people in Spanish Valley are so engaged, I can't imagine they wouldn't want to have more input in planning and zoning. And to me, we could facilitate that by having a planning and zoning commission in the northern part of the county and one for the rest of the county. I don't know.
I think
maybe
we
that's
seriously...
maybe that's too
Well,
discriminatory.
Right now it's manageable with one, but as that area grows and the issues grow there, I think that would be something to look at.
Right. And that's the model they use in Summit County with Park
Yeah.
City and the rest
Yeah.
of the, sort of that urbanized, as it were, part of the county versus the Colville area that's less so. And it seems to work fairly well for them, and I think it's something worth us looking into pretty expeditiously here. Maybe that's part of the conversations that Mark's having with residents up there to gauge that as well.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily suggest it to just only people in that valley, but that would certainly be a way to put some more members on a planning commission that is affecting that part of the county. There still needs to be some representation from some of the other part of the county, but I don't know.
That's an intriguing option.
You can tell I'm a little frustrated this morning
Gathered that.
by this whole thing, and maybe the thing that frustrated me more than anything is the engagement that has come from Grand County into this whole process. I
Fair
am not
enough.
happy about that.
Yeah.
I just, anyway.
Is there any sort of, and we can talk about this later as well, but if there's a desire to correspond on that front, I'd be interested in
Okay,
figuring that out.
well, I don't want to do anything solely as a commissioner. I want support from the other commissioners if they feel the same.
I think some kind of response should be put in place.
Okay.
Because just like Bruce says, we're talking about moratorium, but we're not taking any actions on any engagement with other personal corporations. And it's supposed to be moratorium to where the staff from here and our legal advisors should be out looking at every avenues of how we can make this work for everybody. That's supposed to be the moratorium.
Good.
And, I just felt that the planning and zoning attorney was taking some actions, and whatever they're doing was in motion. But if there's nothing happening, something needs to happen. He is right that something needs to happen right away.
Well, the biggest thing, the most important thing we can do really is to make sure that we're getting our process going to figure out what kind of zoning we want, what kind of development process, approval process, development process needs to be in place for that area that's subject to the moratorium, and that is why we've been able to get Landmark Design on board to help us get that going, because that's a project.
Yep.
It's a significant project, and between Walter and I, we certainly don't have the bandwidth to do that, and that's why we have people who know what who have a good history.
Like
with
Mark
this,
said,
too.
he's been on this thing for 2 years.
Mhm.
We've been on sewer and water for 5 or 6 years in that valley.
Mhm.
There's been a huge amount of attention paid to Spanish Valley in the last 6 or so years
Mhm.
that I know of, and a huge number of public meetings, unfortunately, which not very many people attended, but I think they're motivated now. So
Yes.
so let's let the process go, and let's have some good engagement and some good contacts made, and
Yeah.
let's get the right people here.
Okay.
You got the right guy.
Yeah, so we'll coordinate here. I would like to talk a little bit more about the Loves issue and whether or not we try to bring in some economic analysis. We can talk further about that, but I think the process does unfold and it becomes a little bit uncomfortable as we move forward. Getting Loves to the table would be great. We'd like to talk to them as we move forward, but it sounds like even more important is that they come to you at some point to.
Oh, I think the most important thing, Mark, is that they meet with the people in Spanish Valley, that they listen to their concerns, and that they answer some of their questions if they can.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Love.
Good morning, Commissioners. So we're on the work meeting agenda as well as on the commission meeting agenda and it's the first thing that was in your packet that was emailed out for commission meeting. It's the personal use of public property policy. So a little bit of background as to why this is coming forward and why this is necessary. The state legislature this year passed House Bill 163, which is, I think, by everybody's interpretation at the county and city levels, and even a lot of the state agencies, it is incredibly overbroad. It makes any use of public property for personal use a felony. There's really no level as to the value of it or anything else. There is a little bit of language in there that talks about that incidental use is an exception, but there's no definition for incidental use, and so that would be left up to somebody. And so a lot of the counties and cities, UAC, USIP has been involved, our indemnity pool, were involved in trying to come up with some policies, because House Bill 163 takes effect July 1st. It goes into effect July 1st. And so one of the things that is allowed in the new law is for local governments, like the county, to create their own policies. And so if it's allowed under a county policy, for instance, then it would be allowed under the state policy or under the state law, to at least in large part. There may be some exceptions to that. The document that you have in front of you for today for the commission meeting is in large part a draft that was or started out as a draft from USIP as well as from UAC, that they had a committee get together and they drafted a very broad policy, and you'll notice that it is very broad. David and I have worked on it a little bit. And we made some significant changes that we feel like are more fitting to San Juan County's situation. One of the things that is allowed in the policy is for departments within the county to make rules aside from, or policies aside from, this county policy. The reason for that is in the state law says that if a department has a policy, but it conflicts with the county's policy, the overall policy, then the department policy is no good. The county policy is what rules the day. The problem with that for San Juan County, one example that I think is a really good example is with the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department has a policy currently that allows, and I'm going to just I guess give you the condensed version, but it allows for the deputies to use their county vehicle in limited circumstances for personal use. And the benefit for that is if that vehicle is moving around and is being seen, then there's a hope that it would deter criminal activity. One of the requirements is that the deputies, if they are driving around in a county vehicle, that they be in a position that they're able to respond to an emergency call if one comes across the radio. But under House Bill 163, if the county took the position of you can't use your county vehicle for any personal use, then that would mean that the sheriff's office policy would not have any authority. And so this policy that's in front of you does give deference to the individual departments if they see fit that, like the sheriff's office, that there's a good reason to be able to allow the use of property for personal use in limited circumstances, then it allows them to do that. I will say that this policy that we're bringing in front of you today is really broad, and I think that the time will come that we'll probably come back to you and say, hey, we need to narrow this up a little bit. We need to maybe change some things. But our deadline is July 1st, and so we would like to get something in place because currently there's nothing in place. So we'd like to get something in place that is maybe a little bit broad, so that the county and the county employees and the county departments and everything else are protected under House Bill 163 or from House Bill 163. But then it allows us to come back and maybe shore up or fix certain aspects of that ordinance or that policy. Obviously, the county's position is not that we should be using public property for personal use all the time and doing whatever we want with it. The concern is just that House Bill 163 is incredibly broad, and it's not a concern that's just here in San Juan County, it's across the state. So that's why we're here. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Otherwise, I'll see you in the commission meeting and I hope you'll pass it.
Have you any research as to what other counties are they dealing with it?
Yes, so
Just
the vast majority of them are using some variation of what you have in front of you. Most of the counties were waiting on that committee that was put together by UAC, the Utah Association of Counties, to come together. UAC recognizes that it's a fairly broad policy, but their position is the same as mine, which is let's get something out there before the July 1 deadline, and then we can always tweak it or change it as we go down the road, as we see what works or what doesn't work. So I would say that probably this week at commission meetings and council meetings across the state of Utah, something very similar to that is being considered for passage, because everybody's kind of in the same boat. There are some counties that had maybe policies in place that they were comfortable with, but the vast majority of them were in a situation like San Juan County's in.
So what's your plan in terms of today's the 18th and the end of the month is just a little bit down the road, to consider this
So that's
detail or our position on it?
That's why it's here today. The county's policy has to be passed by the county commission. That's your role, and so it's here today. It's on the work meeting, but it's also on the action in the commission meeting, for hopefully for your consideration and approval, and that you would pass it today, and it would then go into effect prior to the July 1 deadline. And then as we work with the various departments and we see things that maybe don't work or that we need to adjust, then we can do that. I do think that a lot of the departments, especially the departments with a lot of personnel, the road department, the sheriff's department, a lot of them already have policy in place. And so that is the benefit to passing this version, is it gives deference, it defers to those policies that are already in place. So the majority of your employees at the county, it's going to be business as usual because they already have policies that are in place. If you didn't pass this, or you passed something that didn't give that deference, then at that point there may be a learning curve for employees because the policy would then change. But this is designed to be as seamless of a transition as possible, with the idea that if we need to change something in the future, we certainly can do that. If there's no other questions, I'll see you at
I
the...
think it's something we have to do. We've got to
We
do it.
need,
I think what we need to do is come together here as soon as possible, review it, because right now I am concerned about the sheriff department. If we eliminate them in doing whatever they're doing, and that's going to really hinder us along with the EMS and
Absolutely.
the other
And-
departments.
And
so
this
that way-
and this won't.
Right.
This allows those departments to have their own policy rather than telling them that they can't do
so
that.
there's
This allows it.
exceptions.
There's an exception. If you, can I?
Go ahead.
It is
If that's
So it's-
the case, then
in
I
section.
have no qualms with it.
Yeah, section 4, paragraph B says, this policy supersedes and replaces all other county policies related to the personal use of public property, except where specific department or county policies are or have been established to address a particular need of an individual department or the use of a specific category of public property. So that would allow the sheriff's department to have their own policy because their situation is unique from a lot of the other. EMS is another one that
EMS,
that you
yes.
said.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
But it allows them to do that because they are in a unique situation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, from a functional standpoint, it will be pretty much the exact same as it is today.
Okay.
That's good.
if there's no questions, I'll see you in the commission meeting, I
We're
guess.
good.
Okay.
Okay. Next would be
Walter Bird.
Mr. Bird.
Good morning. And my presentation's probably not much different than Kendall's other than the content of the policy. And maybe John David can chime in. He knows more about this subject than I do, but we have received external pressure from the state auditor's office that we pass a conflict of interest policy for the county. I think all the counties have been instructed to do so or advised to do so by the state auditor's office. So what we have in your packet is a draft conflict of interest policy that we'd like to make a part of our actual personnel policy. It'll be an addendum at the end of that policy. And basically this conflict of interest policy states that San Juan County officers and officials and employees have a fiduciary duty to the county for which they work for, and that they need to disclose any conflicts of interest they have with the county, the financial dealings of the county. And then there's provisions in this policy that go over, receiving gifts, prohibiting county employees for having a financial interest in the county. A lot of common sense, obvious things.
But tied to this policy, I believe every January, the clerk's office will be sending out to all employees and officers a form that they'll fill out where they can declare any conflicts of interest that they have with the county at that time. So, much like Mr. Laws, I'm here to present this draft policy, see if you have any questions on it. And then I'll be back during the actual commission meeting to seek passage of it. From my personal point of view as the HR director, I think it's something needed. I think the state auditor's office is correct in seeking this, and there won't be any undue hardship to our employees and any of the officers to follow this policy, so I would recommend that we do so. Any questions?
Mr. Burt, this says, county officer and employees shall not receive, accept, take, or solicit.
Are you an A in the gift?
The A, yes.
Okay, correct.
And $50 is the limit,
That's the limit, and I believe that's state law,
$50.
a $50 value on the gift or whatever you receive.
Depends on what needs to be reported.
One item.
Yes, I believe so.
So if you can accept that, then you take, if it's valued at $100, then you take only half of it. What happens?
If you can split the $100 banana, I guess that's acceptable. But yeah,
Is
if
that
it's,
per year or per month or?
well, it's per
week?
gift. It's per gift,
Per gift.
per item, per gift. If it exceeds the $50, you have to disclose
So a
that.
situation comes up and the value is $100, and then you say, yeah, I'll accept that $100 worth. And then down the road, 6 months later, the other half is offered.
If I may.
That
You may.
I think the key part there, Commissioner, is the first sentence of A, which says you shall not receive gifts that could be reasonably expected to be influential. So it's a judgment call
Oh, okay.
on your part
Okay.
about whether you
If
receive it at
it's-
all.
Yes.
You
It
know?
means-
Okay.
So
It means that it took us 2 days to load up that trailer with hay that we were gonna deliver to Bruce, and now we're gonna unload them now.
Mhm.
But you don't get paid.
you don't get, and you know, is he going to influence you unduly? That's your decision. But it does provide a lot of flexibility in here for you all as commissioners, and frankly for everyone as individuals, to make judgment calls yourselves about what's influential and what's not.
I think, David, sometimes we think that conflict of interest is a bad thing. It's not. All you got to do is declare that you have a conflict, and you can go on about your business. It's better to declare it than to not declare it and have to go back and deal with it later. If there's any chance that any of us have a conflict of interest in any way because of our dealings in our life, just declare it.
That's right.
That's all it's asking us to do. I
Which has
believe.
been commonplace for
Yeah.
elected officials,
Yeah.
but not
Okay.
necessarily county employees. So this will be new for county employees, that they will have to
Yeah.
sign and declare their conflicts of interest and make that filing, so.
I mean, you're absolutely right. In no way could you run an organization like this and nobody have a conflict of interest. You know, it's just impossible. And you're right. Those quote conflicts are what provide you context in the decisions you make as elected, and certainly even in the staff capacity. It's just about that transparency piece is really what this is getting at as much as anything. So.
Absolutely.
Okay?
All right.
And
Any
some of
other?
those policies
The,
were already on in the statewide.
Yeah, the state's good at that, at telling us what policies we need to pass. They just don't send any money along with it to do it, so. If there's no,
Just like the federal government. Huh?
just much like the federal government.
Yeah, they don't send the money, they just created
All right.
legislation, says you deal with it, money-wise.
All right, if there are no further questions, I'll be back at the next meeting.
Nepotism, part of the conflict of interest, or?
It's not part of the conflict of interest policy that's before you, but we do have a nepotism section in our personnel policy manual.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which,
So,
and that's mandated by state law as well, so.
any other question or recommendation? None? Next.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burt. We did. Tammy is already presented. David
That's me.
Everett?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So this was brought, this is the proposed interlocal agreement with Grand County specific to Grand County performing trail maintenance and construction work in San Juan County, in the Spanish Valley area, and in the LaSalle's. This was proposed by Grand County because they recently absorbed into the county the actual staff, people who have been doing this work over a number of years. It was this organization called Trail Mix. And Trail Mix was essentially this sort of ad hoc nonprofit group, and the county would pay them money, the state would pay them money, even the Forest Service would pay them money, and they would go out and do trail work. And they've developed a ton of trails, blah, blah, blah. The reason this interlocal is in front of you now is because these employees are now county employees in Grand County, and so they wanted to have an interlocal in place that formalized the notion that San Juan County was okay with Grand County employees performing some work in San Juan County. There's no financial ask or anything of San Juan County. It's just really a way to make sure that you all are aware that they're doing the work, you're okay with it. The county continues to maintain, the liability for the trails and what's happening on the trails, and that's not anything that's changed at all either. And it's, again, specific only to that sort of northern San Juan County area where the LaSalle's are and Spanish Valley. And so they're a little hot to trot on this because they sort of realize that they're about to start doing this work as the snow melts out of the LaSalle's, and so they want to get this going ahead of them actually out there doing work. County Attorney and I discussed it. He had a suggestion that I placed in front of you. That's this red text that just adds a little bit of language, ensuring that it's formalized that we're communicating effectively between the two agencies, so that if they're proposing new trails or looking at making some trails, having trails work in a different way, that they're collaborating with county staff to make sure that that is acceptable to the county prior to going in and doing any sort of new or different trail work.
Question? Recommendation? There being none, all those, next would be, which one is that? Jerry McNeely.
Greetings, Dave.
It's
From North End. Willie, I'll shake your hand. Kenneth,
Jerry DeGay.
Bruce, and Joe. As I say, greetings from the north end of San Juan County, or Spanish Valley, or Property Flats, or Moab South, however you want to say it.
We went to his town and didn't even give us a ride.
You want a
on
fast or
Corvette.
slow day? We got time? Willie?
Fast.
Fast?
Yeah.
Everything's great in northern San Juan County. How's that?
Thank you very much.
Okay, let me just give you a rundown on my meetings. Grand Water and Sewer had a meeting that I attend. Everything was fine there. The biggest thing that we're talking about is Ken's Lake, which, you know, they give you out your little handout here, which Ken's Lake is now completely full. And it is now turned into the recreational lagoon of southeastern Utah, so to speak.
Do they have a spillway, Jerry? Is it running over the spillway?
They won't let it run over, we can't let it run over the spillway. We keep it, it goes down into the river,
Okay.
everything extra. We put in what we're using at this particular time. And so it just stays there, because we run into trouble when we let it go over the spillway, and then because it goes on down through the valley, and so we don't allow that to happen.
Check the gauge on the
Mill
Mill Creek below Shealy
Yeah.
Diversion there. I think it's at a historical record yesterday
Well,
because of the snow melt.
As you can see, the lake went straight up, so
Yeah.
that's a record itself, because you look down here where it started it started at our low point of last year to fill up that fast. No one believed that was gonna happen. And the whole deal is now, with the reports I'm getting on the mountain, the LaSalle Mountains, I went around the north end here this weekend, and there's tons of snow. I mean, when you look up through Hidden Lake and Dawn's Lake, them valleys are still clear full of snow. And then the report on you guys on this side of the mountain, which would be Dark Canyon Lake, Blue Lake, there's still 4 foot of snow at the lake, period. That means that them guys can't get into their cabins and stuff. And that's where I get that report. And Hollyoaks, who are up on top, they feel they'll get into their cabins till probably July. So that means that's still up there. And there, you know what the Colorado looks like. Last time I heard, the Colorado was running 35,000 feet per second. I would say now it's probably in the 50s, or maybe a little higher right now. And there's still a lot of snow up there, so we should have a good water year. But the Ken's Lake's their big thing for what because we didn't have any water last year and had a really hard time struggling. This year, no problem. Okay, and then we had a San Juan and Water and Sewer meeting on June the 12th with that board. It went great. Everything's going good. The water's going good. The sewer's going good. Probably, hopefully, we'll be done by August. Maybe pushing it a little bit, but we'll try to get done by August with the water and sewer. So that's going good. I'll have I have a self-help home meeting this week, and I have another water meeting this week. So that's more meetings that I'll be talking about next time. Let's see, Grand County, and then I've the meeting with you guys with Grand County, where I was doing all the work and you guys got to be movie stars. I felt really bad about that, so it was,
We didn't even have a Corvette.
well, I would have brought my Corvette out, but the road was a little rough. I know you had a big Dodge out there that I would not have brought my Corvette on there where your Dodge was, Kenneth. So remember that. Remember we discussed that little thing. Corvette's a little special.
Always an excuse, Jerry.
Yeah, I know. But I'll bring it up and let you drive it, and you just watch. Okay, Forest Service. I met with the Forest Service. They're working on the Geyser Pass because they got some money on it, so they're going to be working on it for future recreation. Remember, Geyser Pass is now turned into the winter recreational wonderland of southeastern Utah. I mean, they got lots of people up there, and so they've got some money to redo that whole thing because it gets too crowded. It's not big enough, so they'll be working on that. Let's see, and the road to Uwa. I'll give you that right. They've now started giving out these little things on their road situation. So before I got this from the Forest Service Friday, it just kind of helps you out. If somebody asks you, you don't have it right on your tip of your tongue, you can tell them. what it's about. It's just the roads and the snow but what I'm getting at is the road to Uwa, for those of you who know what Uwa is, had a big slide and took out the road, and they have no idea how long it'll be before they can get up there or what it's going to take to clean it. They're looking at like maybe even a year to get that all taken care of, depending on how long it takes them before they can get up there. Right now, they can't even get up there. They got the gate shut, and they're not planning on opening it at any time soon. You can hike up there, or you can ride a bike up there if you want to. That's the Uwa part, which is in San Juan County. Also, let's see, road closed. And they're looking at some stuff in LaSalle Pass, which is kind of interesting. We take care of LaSalle Pass too, so it's in the San Juan. So that's just these little things Mike Dean brought up as I was talking to him. Okay, Sitla, they're still doing they're doing the land exchange. They're doing the road easements for us in Spanish Valley. The biggest thing they got going right now, which is to our benefit, is they're putting in 2 vaulted bathrooms on the Dark Canyon side of the mountain, which is this side of the mountain at Dark Canyon. Let's say Blue Lake area or the start of Geyser Pass, because it's down lower, and we have 2 unloading or camping areas there that they've give us easements to. That when they gave the easement, I'll just give you a little history. When they gave us the easements, our job was to go in and grade them flat and put gravel on them and then have them drained. We've got 2 of those, and they've gotten used so much during the hunting season, etc., and now winter time, that they've decided to put 2 vaulted bathrooms, which they don't do that very often, so that's a big thing, to put the 2 vaulted bathrooms. The big thing for San Juan was they had trouble getting the bathrooms in, so our road crew went up and fixed the 2-mile road, which helped out getting in there. And so, because the roads are still in really bad shape on the 2-mile side. Also, I've been getting phone calls from the homeowners that are in the Dark Canyon lower 2-mile area, and what they are is second home owners, big tax base and everything, and they wanting the roads fixed. So we've been working on that and helping them out. In fact, Bruce met one of them the other day. That's one of those landowners. Let's see, BLM. I talked to, everything's the same with the BLM on the drill sites, all the drilling and exploration stuff that I gave you last time. I did talk to Lance this morning, and the biggest thing he had going, the Blueberry drill site and all that's still there. Wilson Arts is on hold. No changes.
I looked at it. Side of the road on your left side going to Moab.
Mm-hmm.
I need the detail a little bit.
You mean up on top of Blue Hill? Is that where you're talking, Willie?
It's before you get to Wilson Arch.
Yeah.
On your left side.
Yeah. That's the old highway? Is that
I
what
have no idea what you're
okay.
talking about when you.
Okay.
What is that?
What they were going to do?
Right there.
They were going to go right through the old highway, right at Wilson Arch, where all the houses are.
Mm-hmm.
And those citizens came to the commission at that time and complained that they didn't want it going through there. So they put the drill site on hold, which is just right below there, just right off the highway right there. And so we went to the BLM and tried to get them to talk to the oil company to change the route. And so we went down where Charlie Steen Road is, and and where the old highway crosses 191. They're going to go past Wilson Arch down to that intersection, and then they go back towards Wilson Arch on the old highway, old 191. And then they got some problems with a CC camp that was there. So they're going to try to go around that. And so that's where they're working right now, is how they're going to bring that road into that drill site. My idea was to go around Looking Glass Rock, because they've already used that to go to a drill site, and come from that backside and come in from the backside, and then it wouldn't be around anybody's home or anything else. So, and they're still working on it. They haven't decided what to do there because of the people complaining. And it's a really old oil leasing claim, and so I think it came from Trump's, that they have to now, if you have holding an old lease, you can't hold it, you gotta drill on it, and so that's what started this whole thing in the first place. Do you know where it is now, Will?
Yeah.
And that's what that's all about. It's because, you know, all those homes right there, boy, I started getting them as soon as they found out, because it would be right in their backyard, and they were gonna use that old 191 to go to, you go right through their houses, a lot of them, and that's where the complaint come from. So, and we didn't want that to happen either, so we went to the BLM. That's what I do. I go to the BLM and tell them when I get these complaints, and then we work on it. And it was now been in the holding bank for 6 months, 7 months now. We've been working on that one, so. Also on the Ken's Lake thing, I talked to the recreation, Jennifer Jones, I think her name is. And she's asked for some help because now it's turned into the big recreational thing, and it's so full, there's no beaches. So she's asked for me, which I've already talked with the sheriff, that if he could have a couple of deputies drive through there once in a while to kind of give a sight, show and tell, so to speak, to the people that are there, because, you know, I don't know, the boarding thing, it's getting way out of hand, where they get on them boards and paddle around and all that stuff. And then the dogs are getting out of hand, and so they would just ask if San Juan would be interested in a little bit of help. Are you telling me to get the hell out of here? Okay, well, all you gotta do is say, shut up, Jerry, you had enough. Like,
That's silent.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
If you need me, call me. I'm available at all times. Even if you want to ride, Kenneth, just come by. Maybe we ought to race Corvette and Dodge.
Can I bring my night's bottle?
No, that's cheating. No.
Next
Thanks,
is
guys.
Nick.
Sandberg, Mr. Sandberg.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Last Monday, I attended a meeting in Gunnison, Colorado, with the Fish and Wildlife Service and various counties represented on the Gunnison sage grouse situation. You may recall that there was a settlement agreement reached about a year ago that directed Fish and Wildlife Service to develop a recovery plan for the Gunnison sage grouse within 30 months, and that 30 months will end October of 2020. So we found out what Fish and Wildlife Service has done is they've completed a species status assessment report, and that's something they use as a base document to develop a recovery plan. The recovery plan is being developed, and that will be out for public review sometime probably late October for I think a 60 or 90 day period. So they were giving us some preliminary information on this. Well, we thought that information that they gave would be useful to the local Soil Conservation District Board in San Juan County. So that board has agreed to a meeting on July the 9th at 6 p.m. and that's where Fish and Wildlife Service will come and make a presentation to that Soil Conservation District Board. And they have also invited the Dove Creek Soil Conservation Board to that meeting. And they've asked me to extend an invitation to the county commissioners to attend that meeting at 6 p.m. also, if you're available to do so. The date again? Say again?
What's the date again?
That's July the
July
9th.
9th.
I believe that's a Tuesday,
What time?
6 p.m. And that'll be here in the commission chambers. And there may
maybe a field tour for Fish and Wildlife Service that afternoon prior to the meeting. So evidently, I don't think some of the Fish and Wildlife Service staff have actually been in the habitat area in San Juan County.
Is that under BLM, this whole project?
No, it's Fish and Wildlife Service.
Fish and
Now,
Wildlife?
now the habitat that's been designated as critical, I think, is 94, 96% private land in the critical habitat.
How many acres?
I don't recall.
60,000?
No, it's more than that. It's 150,000 or so, I think.
Yeah.
It's primarily all the area northeast of Monticello on the flats, and there is some south of Monticello that's designated. But basically east of Highway 191. And basically north of Highway 4, what's the new number on the Cortez Highway? Anyway, north of the Cortez Highway on that. So that's the information on the Gunnison sage grouse situation currently.
How many birds they count on that 100,000 acres this year?
I think
How many
they
males?
count males on the Lex, the strutting grounds, and they only counted 4 males this spring, 7 males the previous spring. So that would
Fish
equate-
and Wildlife have over 100,000 acres to protect those 4 male birds.
Yeah, that male to total population is basically 5 to 1. So you could say maybe there's 20, 25 birds estimated total population in this satellite population of the Gunnison sage grouse. Now the Gunnison Basin is the main area, and that's 4 to 5,000 birds over there. But the species was designated as a threatened species several years ago.
That's where they need to concentrate over there.
Yeah, I was on the advisory council for the BLM, so they do also study those habitats, sage grouse habitat.
We need to trap all those birds and move them over on the
For the
BLM.
state of Arizona, state of Utah. And we did, made some
Remember what
visitations
Lynn said to Marilyn
to
Boyd?
site
She
areas.
was advocating for the
where
hawks.
A lot of
Lynn said there was
people were
hawks gonna swoop
complaining,
down and
cattle.
eat all your sage grouse.
cattle grower and bird habitat are not going too well together. Cattleman says people are saying cattle are damaging the nesting areas. That's
Mhm.
what they were saying.
Yes. Okay. On to another subject. A few years back, BLM reached a settlement agreement with the appellants on the resource management plans in Utah, specific to transportation or travel management planning. And in that settlement agreement, BLM is required to conduct travel management planning on certain travel management areas. And the one that affects us is primarily the Hatch Point area, as well as, it doesn't adjoin, but it's separate in the Schaefer Basin area, all in San Juan County. And San Juan County was invited to participate as a cooperating agency in that effort about a year ago, and we have been participating with that group to look at each individual road. Now BLM is at the point where they need to do the Section 106 consultation process for cultural resources in that travel plan. So they have sent a letter to the county through me stating basically what I've told you there, and inviting the county to be a consulting party in this Section 106 process. And we have been a consulting party on other efforts on cultural resources in the past. I think it behooves the county to be involved in this because we do have such an interest in transportation planning. It affects everything we've got in the county, whether it's economics, recreation, tourism, livestock grazing, mineral resources, or what have you. So I propose that we accept that invitation to be a consulting party. And I have drafted a letter here for your consideration if you decide to do that, to take up their offer of consulting party. And you can consider that or kick that around. We don't necessarily need to sign it today. I did not get it on the agenda. I apologize for that. I guess I'm still working under the old system.
I'd recommend that we send the letter and ask to be a consulting party. If you're not at the table, you have no voice. Even if you wanted to sign it today and ratify it another time, I think we could.
Motion to put it on the regular action item.
Make a motion, we put it on the regular agenda and for signature today, David.
Second.
With that, thank you very much.
I got one other item. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Excuse me, Willie. You're probably aware that BLM has an oil and gas lease sale coming up in September, and that includes lease parcels in San Juan County. There are 19 parcels, roughly 32,000 acres, and they're all in the southeastern part of the county, north of the McCracken extension of the Navajo Reservation. And BLM has now completed an environmental assessment on leasing of those parcels. And they're asking the public for any comments they have on that environmental assessment. So I've looked at that environmental assessment, and it appears, I can't argue their expertise on air quality, climate change, and those are the two issues that were covered, that were not covered in previous documents. Everything appears to be in order. And I guess our position on that would be, is leasing consistent with the county policy, the county resource management plan and the master plan that the county has? And basically it is. Previous oil and gas lease sales have been consistent with county policy, and this one is no different. The only thing that they have not added in their planned conformance and consistency listing is they did not list House Bill 393, which was the Energy Zones Amendment, which was passed by the state of Utah a few years back. And that established energy zones in San Juan County where mineral and energy exploration and development would be encouraged and expedited. And these leases are within the energy zone that covers most of the eastern third of San Juan County. So their proposed leasing is consistent with that law, so that should be added and mentioned in the environmental assessment. So what I've done here, they won't accept letters as we commonly do. They want any comments submitted electronically on these documents. Mm-hmm. So the draft you've got before you are the two items that I think we should add as comments on the NEPA documents. One would be the inclusion of the energy zone amendment, a reference to that, as well as a comment on the unsigned finding of no significant impact to the human environment. And based on their environmental analysis and their conclusions there, I would concur with that unsigned determination of no significant impact. So this is something, again, for your consideration.
Mr. Everett?
Nick, I believe this, commissioners, I think you all have received some correspondence from some individuals related to this, putting this all
BLM.
together. No, sorry?
BLM had sent, probably about a month ago, some information, a map, and information on the cultural stipulations that
Right.
would be applied to these leases. I don't know if that's what you're thinking of.
No, it's something different. The commissioners, and then I was CC'd on it later,
Yeah.
had received some correspondence from individuals who were concerned about
Oh.
the impact of these leases,
Cultural and artifacts impact,
particularly
and-
given, sorry. go ahead.
particularly the water situation also. Those are the issues that are related to these that has not been mentioned in your comments.
And those are all covered in the environmental analysis with the stipulations that would apply to actual drilling if that ever occurs on these leases. BLM has put every legal requirement and restriction that they have that would cover air quality concerns, wildlife, cultural resources, groundwater, and any other resource that could be affected by development of these leases.
Well, I know Bluff Town Council passed have you seen that? They passed a resolution.
I heard that. No, I haven't seen the resolution.
So they authored a resolution that was, it's a resolution opposing and
Right,
urging caution regarding the oil and gas.
There was a
leases.
comment made here from one of the McCracken Mesa individual.
So I,
Well, that's for your consideration as to whether you want to comment or let it slide or whatever you choose to do.
and what was the deadline for commenting?
July the 1st.
I'd recommend that we comment. Whatever Willie's wants to comment on, whether it's cultural resources or water or whatever Kenneth wants to comment, we'll at least comment. Whether we agree on what the comments are or not, we ought to comment as a county commission. But weigh in on how we feel about it.
Well, my comment would be that according to previous information that I received from the public, comments that were made, and also from Friends of Cedar Mesa, the impacts are from their position, and I agree with them that the archaeological and cultural resource are very heavy in those areas, and many of those sites will be damaged, even though right now the only survey that what was mentioned as no significant impact. Those are superficial, but underground, subsurface artifacts that are buried, those are the concerns, because those are not included in their assessment. So unless you do the diggings first, then you'll say, yeah, it's okay now. We remove all the artifacts. So In that sense, that is my position at this time, my statement.
Okay.
So, those, in light of that, I'll rephrase it again. Those assessments that were done indicating no significant impact, those are superficial assessment that was done to the ground. No subsurface assessment has been made. And if you permit for those wells, for those permits to be sold, then the developers would be subject to damaging those sacred sites and artifacts. Thank you.
So,
Okay, well, that's all I had.
well, in terms of proceeding on this one, process-wise, Nick, would it help you if there was a sort of a summation, at least, of the individual comments that the commissioners want to make?
Yeah,
as
I
part
wouldn't
of
know
this?
how, I wouldn't know how to write the county's comments.
Right, I don't
So
know
if
that
the
we
commissioners have opinions on this, if you can draft something and come up with it,
Mhm.
we'll submit
Yeah,
it as a
well,
county.
I'll submit
But I
my
wouldn't have
comment
any
in
idea
writing.
how to
Okay.
write that up.
Yeah.
All right, I'll work with
Because it is contrary to the county resource management plan
Mm-hmm.
and other things that we've done.
Those resource management plans were developed prior to our installation here.
They went through the public process,
Yes,
right, and
before we
statewide, and
came.
has been incorporated into the
Yes.
statewide resource
So,
management planning process.
that is from one perspective.
Mhm. And I guess if you wanted to change the policy, you'd have to go through that same
Yeah.
public process.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay,
I understand.
all right. Well, that's all I have this morning.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
Back to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Man.
It is
Do I get
11:35,
paid for this?
and I would like to call
Few
this
minutes to it.
meeting to order, and welcome to our regular commissioners meeting. And before we do, I'd like to ask the audience to assist us in a small word of prayer or maybe a moment of silence, and I would appreciate that. Are there any volunteer?
I will.
Thank you, Bruce.
Our kind eternal Father in heaven, as we meet as a commission this day, we ask you to bless us in the things that we are doing, the decisions that we make, that we might be guided by thy Spirit. We're grateful for the citizens of this county, for all of those who serve the county, for those who are put in harm's way. In any way, we ask you to protect them, be with our employees and guide them, keep them safe. Be with our citizens that they might have thy help and guidance. We're grateful for the moisture that's come to our land, the good that it is doing the land. We ask you to watch over and take care of us in this meeting this day. We pray in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Bruce. Okay, approving of the last meeting minutes. I'm sure that you two have reviewed your minutes.
I'll move to approve.
Motion for approval on the
Second.
minutes and second by Commissioner Grayeyes. Any comment to minutes? There be none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much. And do we have any citizens' comment?
I think we have four.
Or
Yeah, Rob Wilcox.
Mr. Commissioner, do you want me to just review the process for
yeah,
citizens' comment real quick?
yeah.
Okay. Per the recent adoption of rules of procedure for the commission, each individual gets 3 minutes to speak. Speak on anything you want, on the agenda, not on the agenda. I'll keep a timer and remind you when you got 30 seconds left. And my understanding is that you can speak on whatever you want. We do ask that if a lot of people are speaking on the same item, that you be respectful of the time here, and if you don't need to repeat exactly what somebody said, that would be appreciated. And obviously need to maintain civil discourse and respectful tone in dealing with each other and with the commission.
Thank you, David. Okay, Rob Wilcox.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Rob
morning.
Wilcox, San Juan County Sheriff's Office. I'm the task force commander. I tried to get on the agenda just to have the 2019-2020 budget approved. It's a federally funded grant through the task force to pay for the task force, the equipment, wages, and then training. But I just need Commissioner Maryboy's signature on 2 pages, if you would be so kind. And I tried to get on the agenda. They said this isn't a matter that needed to be on the agenda. That just needed a signature.
Okay, that is the process. And commissioners,
I'll make a motion that we approve the signature on the contract. It doesn't take money out of our county budget.
No, it's all
It
federally
comes from
funded.
someplace else.
Correct.
thank you very much, Commissioner Adams and
Second.
Commissioner Gray Eyes, seconds. Comment, none, yeah, both of them, or do I do the one first?
Just the chair, Commissioners.
No, commissioners,
Oh,
both of them?
Yes.
All right, give me the other.
and then right here.
That would be under authorized official sign or authorized official name and title of type.
Yeah, so print the name at top and then the signature on the second
Oh,
line.
okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Out of it too.
I think that would, let's see.
Goes with that.
Yep. Short and sweet. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Okay, Patrick Burrell.
Patrick?
I think this is the, which one's live here? I think this is the only time. I think I'm glad we only have 3 minutes to talk. I had a bunch of questions about Landmark, and I'm Patrick Berry, by the way, with the Northern San Juan County Coalition. Had a lot of questions about Landmark. Those were all answered, and spoke with Mark, and we're going to start communicating directly. That's great. Bruce, following your speech, there's nothing I really got to say. I mean, you kind of hit the nail right on the head. Thank you for that. The Planning and Zoning Commission has now opened up their eyes to, and ears to listening to us. They're taking the San Juan County Coalition, Dark Skies, read it, and now we're going to do a comparative analysis with this thing. As far as development goes, we're not against development, to really tell you the truth, in commercial development. The problem is with a thing like Love's, it's such a big issue. There's so many little things that go along with a Love's Truck Plaza type thing, not just Love's, but are there tanks above ground or below ground? Have they been approved yet? The zoning commission told me it's a done deal. They've already been vested, and I don't know if that's true or not. I talked with the EPA in Washington, and I got a call into the one in Denver, and I'm working with the health department to determine what's going to be required as far as idling ordinances and things like that. If they don't idle, they won't mind an idling ordinance. If they're going to have the tanks above ground, how big is the retention pond going to be that's going to be required? They're going to need curbs. That's got to be in the zoning ordinance to put that in there. There's so many little things that we need to work with that I don't have 3 minutes to tell you all about this stuff to get you guys. But you said it. We're finally starting to get it. We need something to sit down, have a conversation. We're going to do that with Landmark. And then they're going to have their community. You know, Love sent a guy down here. He's a PR guy. He's the one that goes around to all the different places in the United States where they want to put a Loves and try and soothe the people's things, but they don't answer questions.
Yeah.
You know, so this is where we're at. We're finally starting to make some headroads. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We've got to do this stuff. But we need to have a meeting, no 8 timers, please, that we can sit down and have a talk, and I don't have to race through this thing, and so we can talk about what we need to have in place. Loves has 2 options. Love's got 2 options. They either come in here and say, okay, we understand what you guys want, what we need for the EPA. You need an environmental impact study. That's what you need. And also, I'm not there. You know.
He's moving,
We need an environmental impact study, and we need to have a sit-down conversation. Thank you very much. I forgot to get the last part in.
Robert. Oh, good.
Robert?
Perfect.
Commissioners, thank you. With Memorial Day and Flag Day and the commemoration of D-Day just behind us, and we have Independence Day coming up in just a few weeks, I'm feeling particularly patriotic and would like to invite everyone to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Susan Burrell.
Susan Burrell?
Barry. Yeah.
I'm obviously pronouncing it wrong. Sorry, Susan.
Oh, that's all right. Didn't matter. Good morning, and thank you for having me up here. Which one am I speaking into? It doesn't matter. I'd like to say real quickly, I too agree with you, Commissioner Bruce, that putting together a commission that could actually speak to us and we can speak to everybody else would help. It's funny that Loves to me is the name of this place because it seems that love is not what we're growing right now around this. Also with the Planning and Zoning Commission, it would be nice if actually somebody from San Juan County and our coalition was actually put on that board. I think that would really help as well, to give a voice from us. My own neighbor who was on this Planning and Zoning Commission, who's been on there, wasn't even aware himself of Loves coming in, which surprised me, and he's on the advisory commission. So obviously there is some communication problems that we do have, and I also want to say that I really would like to have it as well, because I know last week I myself was brought to a point of severe anger, and I feel really bad about that, because you know, with the misunderstanding of communication that's going on, where people are accusing each other of different things, different knowledge, not knowing, boy, things really blew up, and I don't want to see it continued that way. I would like to see it working as a goodwill. And also, if Loves, is that the only thing that can come in there and bring us revenue? Because I do know a gentleman that's interested in that place who has another idea for putting in something. So is that a possibility? I mean, do we have just one thing in our foresight and that's it? Anyway, I do appreciate all your work on it, Commissioners, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That it? Thank you for your comments. That will conclude the citizens' comment. And we're going to move on down to the agenda items. Item for discussions and considerations for approval. Tammy will be the first one. Pat Smith, Scott, Kendall, Walter, David.
Hello again. So,
Mhm.
as we talked about, area plan, I just need it approved and signed just by Kenneth.
Motion.
Okay, I'll second the motion by Willie to have the chairman sign the area plan.
Allow
So
you to sign.
allow me to sign to be to mentally health, substance abuse myself.
And just one comment I would like to make. I work with a lot of divisions of the county. We work closely with EMS, we work with the sheriff's office doing drug court, with aging, and we work with county clerk. We work with a lot of different people, and you guys have some great staff here at the county. So I just want to publicly state how thankful I am for everybody that works here and for what they do for us
Yes.
and for everybody in the county. So
Well, thank you very much.
thank you for that, and thank you guys for your support.
Ken, I think we have a public hearing scheduled for 11:45 that
Yeah,
we have
Yeah.
to hold at 11:45. Is that right, David?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That is, you are correct. Good catch.
so it is, oh, okay, we still have time. Oh, we need to advance into it.
Let's do it.
Well, commissioners, make a motion to advance into the public hearing?
Yeah, I think we can just go into it without a motion and just need to read what the reason for the public hearing is, and then you can ask
Okay.
actual comments, Kenneth.
Well, as a
Is
chairman,
that
I'd
right,
like
David?
to
Yes.
recognize that we are going into the public hearing, and David, can you read them items into the record so we
I
can
will.
proceed?
So this is a public hearing regarding a resolution, and that resolution is for the consideration and adoption of this resolution authorizing an annually renewable lease, a master resolution, security documents, and the issuance and sale by the authority of the local building authority of San Juan County, Utah, lease revenue bond series 2019s in order to finance the cost of acquisition, construction, furnishing, or leasing a road department shop and related facilities, and authorizing the taking of all the other actions necessary to the consummation of the transaction contemplated. In other words, these are the bond documents and all of the related necessary legal documents associated with what we need to do to get the money necessary to build the road department shop, which is a project you all have approved in previous meetings.
And I believe it's been approved by the CIB for the financing.
Correct.
Okay.
This is all just the next steps, and then what happens is you have this, and then you'll have this. Oh, I'm sorry, I am totally off. I got confused because we do have to have a public hearing on this item at the next meeting, and you'll declare that here. But totally my mistake. This is a public hearing for the CIB application that the county put in. For EMS vehicles, to help with our EMS services. So, my apologies, I got a little wrapped around the axle there. So what happens is, anytime an organization puts in an application to the Community Impact Board for funding, the board requires that you go through a public hearing process about your application. So it's not really anything other than a hearing about whether people think that this is a good thing to apply for or not. And so that's what this public hearing is about.
Is Linda here?
Okay.
I thought she was going to
Maybe
be.
we ought to have her
Oh, there she is.
I was here.
tell us
I just
what,
didn't think we were going till after commission.
No, we're going. Can you give us just a quick
Yeah, do whatever you want me to.
quick rundown on what we're applying for and why it's important?
Yes. So we are asking CIB to fund 3 ambulances. It's been at least 5 years since we bought some ambulances. We like to replace some of our main lines and update. There's also lots of safety features that are coming out with ambulances now that are required. So we're asking CIB to help fund those things, and then I think the county's going to put in a little bit of money to help offset the cost. We're going for a full grant, but we'll settle for whatever CIB will help us with.
Oh,
How many vehicles?
Okay, I'm not going to settle. I'm going to ask for a full grant.
Full grant.
Yes,
How
I'm in
many
a happy
vehicles?
mood. Let's do
Three.
it.
3?
3.
Add another one.
But it is worth noting that I was instructed very specifically by CIB staff to make sure that it was clear that to the public, it could come in the form of a grant or a loan.
Right.
So
We are hoping
we
for a
expect
grant.
A grant, yes.
Right. I'm hoping that my great words of wisdom will get us a grant.
Compelling.
Tell us why you would need it to be in a grant and not a loan.
The ambulance service right here, right now with San Juan County has been, we have tried to be self-sufficient and just run on payments that people make. That is becoming harder and harder to do. And so the ambulance service is struggling pretty financial, and we do not have the money to pay for ambulances. They cost, when I first started in 2000, an ambulance cost $97,000. Today the going rate is $200,000. With all of the safety features that go and are required on an ambulance, the cost just seems to continue to go up. One ambulance is almost half my budget right now. So we're needing help to replace some very old vehicles that have over 100,000 miles on them. We have put them to really good use, and we're just needing something safer and needs less maintenance right now and has those safety features that are required.
So Commissioners, I would ask your utmost consideration. Linda gave me a tour on one of the ambulances, and inside the ambulance, there's 2x4s. Coffee can, and one of them has syringe in them, and the other one has cotton.
It's not quite that bad.
So I'd like to ask the audience, how many of you want to be picked up in a $90,000 ambulance versus a $200,000 ambulance?
I don't envision one at all.
Most of the time, people want to be picked up in an ambulance that does their skills.
You just want the mortician to pick you up, right?
I'm done, baby.
Skip the ambulance. Well, Linda does a great job with EMS.
Yes.
But in spite of that, there are people who are picked up in emergency situations by the ambulance that she can't collect anything for. And so approximately how much do you have to write off a year, Linda?
I don't know. John's helping me get those numbers together to exactly what we're writing off per year, but it's quite a bit. So the majority of the people who we pick up here in San Juan County have Medicare for their insurance. Medicare only has a flat rate that they pay, which is about 25% of the bill. And so that being the majority of the clients that I pick up, I'm having to write off a lot of contractual adjustments, just because that's the agreement that we have with Medicaid and Medicare. And that's the majority of the people who are writing. So I went from being able to collect a lot to when those insurances start changing to not being able to collect as much. And so because I don't have a big tax base coming anywhere to support my system, we are hurting financially.
I think it would be really important to stress that to the CIB board, that you have a county that's the biggest county in the state. It's really diverse. You go some places where it's difficult even to get an ambulance, and that you have a problem with pay as you go, and that's why you need a grant.
Yes,
You can't afford a loan.
I can't afford a loan.
Are you
That's
writing this-
perfectly said.
You
Yes.
writing this down?
Yes.
Oh, come
I'll
on,
I'll
Commissioner,
remember.
let's do it.
Thank you.
Is that all you need from me?
I think so.
Any questions?
Have public comment.
Yeah, you need to
Mhm.
put public comment on.
Do I have to sit up here for public comment?
Any
Okay,
public
good.
would like to make a comment to us buying the ambulance?
So
No,
are
would be
you
a
writing
good-
off like 80% maybe?
Of my, I don't know, because
Well, you just stated it's like 75%.
Right, but I have other things that come in from different insurances, so, John Felmuth is actually helping me right now put some numbers together so that I can sit down and actually explain to them what my numbers are and where we need to go forward from here.
We need to close the public hearing.
Anybody over 62 ought to be commenting.
Okay, back there.
They gotta come up to the mic. Gotta come up.
Really appreciate.
Up here,
You
Bill.
gotta say your name.
Yeah.
For the
This is all
record.
very official.
We have to turn these minutes into the CIB, so they need to know who's commenting
Gotta say your name, your clan, your full clan, everything else.
and your birthday.
I'm Doug Allen, and I think we ought to go to the CIB and ask for a full grant. And I want to comment, we need to remember, commissioners, where that money comes from. It comes from oil leases, primarily, from San Juan County. Don't forget that when you consider these lease agreements.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Monette Clark. I live in Spanish Valley. Whoops. Oh, those are one-
It doesn't make it fun.
Okay. I just have a question about the ambulance service in San Juan County. If your 3 ambulances, where are they located, and do they serve Spanish Valley where I live? Or what happens if I have a medical emergency? Because Moab Hospital is a lot closer than San Juan.
Well, I can help with that. Jerry McNeely has a Corvette. He usually gets people in Spanish Valley. And
Speeds
No,
them to
I'm
the
just-
hospital.
I'm kidding.
That solves the problem.
I just had the question.
That's fair.
That's a
Linda can
very
answer.
good question. Do you want me to come back?
Please.
Yeah, go ahead and,
So to answer her question, we have a memorandum of agreement with Grand County EMS, and they service Spanish Valley right now. Not sure what we're going to do in the future when we start doing more development, but right now, Grand County EMS services Spanish Valley, and if there is ever a time when they don't have an ambulance available due to their call volume increasing, Monticello's ambulance would go out there, and if that happens more often, then we'll go back into an agreement to try and figure out what we're going to do in Spanish Valley on San Juan County side to help Grand County EMS.
Well, I might say, Linda, that San Juan County has purchased 10 acres in Spanish Valley for future needs for EMS, fire, police, all of those kind of things. As the valley grows, we have land where we can address some of those kind of things, but it's not gonna happen right now, but down the road. We're trying to look a little bit ahead and plan for the future, but we made that purchase. We have that property already.
Where is it?
At the intersection of the La Grande Road and Spanish Valley Drive, it's kind of on the north or east side right there. Is that right, Jerry?
Yeah, by the old, what they call Airport Road and Blue Road, where it comes together right there in that corner.
Is it part of the old airport? You mean the
Yes,
upper
yeah.
half of the old airport?
Yeah,
The south half?
yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Well-
Who picks up in LaSalle?
So Monticello covers LaSalle right now. They have a first responder unit that will go and provide care until the ambulance can get there, and then but they are not allowed to transport. So they have to wait for Monticello to come, and then they can choose if they want to go to Moab Regional or come back to San Juan Hospital.
okay. Options. Jerry?
I just might add on the LaSalle part, they have one of the best first responders.
Doesn't work that way,
Up here,
Jerry.
Jerry.
You come up and
Get
say
the
your
top.
name.
Geez, I was just
It's a
gonna
public
give you
hearing.
Front and center.
kudos. I didn't,
But you gotta do
if I
it.
known I was gonna get up there, I wouldn't have raised my
I know,
hand.
sorry. But you can get the kudos up there.
There you
Okay.
go.
You stop whining, Jerry. Just come on up here.
When I get in front of this, I whine.
Say your name.
Okay, my name's Jerry McNeely, and my comment was for Linda on her first responders in LaSalle, because I have dealt with them, and they are probably the best there is. And they did one Thanksgiving, they helped us out, and it was unbelievable what they did. It was one of the best there is, as far as I'm concerned, so, for a first responder. It's just a shame first responders can't move. That's the only thing, because you're sitting there and their time's going by, but they can't, they do what they can, but they can't.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
kudos
Good,
to
good.
Linda. How's that?
Anybody else?
Want to take me to CIB too?
Yeah, always. Always, I always do.
John Evans, here again. I'm a little skeptical. The question I have, and Linda could probably answer it, I watch TV and I watch the news, and when there's an emergency and there's a cop involved, I don't know if we've got anybody left in here, but they don't wait for the ambulance. And I've been in a lot of emergencies, and I go crazy while I'm waiting for an ambulance, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Anyway, do cops have special dispensation to throw a cop that's been shot or injured in the cop car and take him to the hospital, to the emergency room?
I can't answer that for them, that department. So I don't know what their liability rules are. I don't know how that works. That's not my department, so I'm not sure.
Well, another one was, let me give an example. A lady had an attack down at the senior citizens, and she was in terrible pain. She's about to faint. We waited a good 15 minutes for you guys to go 3 blocks. If I would have thrown her in my car, is the liability on me?
Yes.
Or is that a crime? And take her to the
Well, I
emergency
don't
room?
know. I can't answer that for you. I
Okay,
mean,
anybody?
If you want to take that liability on yourself and something
Yeah.
happens to her, then I
If the
would
consent-
personally do that.
If the consent comes from the
victim?
person to allow you to transport, then you're out of in the clear. If you don't get that consent, then you're in a liability position.
Got one
Yeah.
lawyer here. You're not gonna touch it?
Definitely not.
Anyway, that's it.
It's not a crime. I'm not gonna say that yet.
An emergency.
Oh, there you go.
An emergency,
All right.
yeah.
So,
The reservation is about the worstest place you ever get hurt, but these guys get to the scene before anybody else.
yeah, but there's cops usually get there before the ambulance, and and I watched that, right on TV. You got a cop that's bleeding, and they throw him in a cop car, and of course they got sirens just like the ambulances. But anyway, that's something I'm not sure on.
Anybody else? There it is.
My name is Zach Podmore, and I'm a member of the Volunteer Fire Department in Bluff, and I just want to say that I support the application.
Thank you. This will benefit your town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the grant or the loan application?
The grant, yeah.
Grant.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Anybody else? If there be none, I will
Close.
force a feather Bruce and have him dance in circles.
No,
Did we ask?
that's it.
Oh, okay.
Did you close the public hearing?
Yeah, I'm gonna close the public hearing
Yeah.
as soon as I get the last response from the 2 commissioners. None. Okay.
Sufficient
A motion would be in place to get out of the public hearing.
motion?
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Gray Eyes and second by Commissioner Adams to get out of the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're back on Commissioners' meeting. Okay, with that consideration, we will certainly keep in touch and try to do what we can to make that work to purchases the ambulance. So now we go down to Pat Smith.
Hello,
Aye.
Pat Smith, Library Director. I'm just here to hopefully get approval for a new library board seat. Library board seat.
Commissioners?
No,
Go ahead and pursue.
sorry. wrapped up in the previous conversation. Yeah, we have potential for up to 9 library board trustees, and we currently have 5. And we had a man named Ryan Stewart, who is a Monticello resident, express interest in becoming one of the trustees. And the library board approved approved him for the position, and I just need to bring it to you and see if you will approve it. If you need a copy of his letter of interest, I do have that with me.
We've got one.
You have them? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve
Second.
the request.
Board member.
For board member.
Great.
Appointment.
Motion by Commissioner Adams to approve and second by Commissioner Gray Eyes. Any last comment? There be none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Scott?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm Scott Burton. I have a subdivision plat. Trying to spread it out without hitting the mic. It's the Renegade Ranch subdivision. This is located on the top of Blue Hill. Just off the road access is off of the Pole Canyon Road.
Where Blue?
Just south
Blue
of
Hill.
Yeah, just south of Moab.
South of Moab.
You come up
as
the
you come
hill
up,
out of
as you come up the hill
Spanish
out of Spanish Valley. There's the
I've
past.
been looking for that blue, but there's no blue.
There's not a sign or
Yeah,
it's
it's
not.
just the name.
It's just the name up there.
Where's
So
the,
this he's
the
built
uphill
Yeah, it's right at the top. Kind of
Right at
you get to the top.
little platform?
And there's that off. If you're
Plateau.
coming from Moab, off to the left there, there's that big parking area,
Mhm.
dirt parking lot right
There's a
there. That's the
turnout.
Pole
Oh, okay.
Canyon. That's the Pole Canyon Road. And this developer has built a road through the BLM from that parking area south. You can kind of see it along the power lines going south.
Yeah.
And it goes up on the top of the hill to his property, and he's got a subdivision plat for, I think it's 4 lots
Mm-hmm.
that he's dividing up there. So
He's the renegade. Huh?
he's the renegade, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, commissioners?
I have no problem with it.
I have no idea what's on top of that hill.
A lot of rock.
A lot of trees, I assume.
No, not many trees.
Not many.
A lot of rocks.
Yeah. Sagebrush?
So I think this has been through the planning and zoning
Yeah.
department, right, Scott?
Yeah, it has. It went to the planning commission last
And
Thursday night.
They followed all the rules to make a subdivision.
Yep.
I'll
Yeah,
make a
it's-
motion, we approve the, what's it called, ranch?
Renegade Ranch.
Renegade Ranch
subdivision.
subdivision plat,
Mhm.
and allow Commissioner Maryboy to sign.
Thank you.
Second.
Commissioner Adams make motion to have the chairman authorize Renegade Ranch to be signed, and second by Commissioner Gray Eyes. This is the magic pen
It works
and
best.
right about here, right?
Yep. Yep. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go enjoy. Okay. Kendall Laws.
I'll come back up if you'd like me to. We talked about it in the work meeting for the personal use of public property policy. So I'm just here in this meeting to hopefully get your approval. But if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them as well.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gray Eyes to authorize and get engaged with that new policy, and do I have a second?
I'll second the attorney's recommendation on personal use of public property policy.
Okay. First and second.
A lot of P's in there.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Walter Bird.
It's afternoon now. Good afternoon. I'm Just here to seek your approval of the proposed conflict of interest policy that we'll attach to our personnel policy manual.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Gray Eyes to acknowledge the new conflict of interest personnel. And do I have a second?
I'll second the motion to add the conflict of interest policy to our personnel manual.
Well said. Second's been established. And any other questions, comment? There be none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. David Carpenter.
I believe he may not be joining us, but this is just to ratify a purchase that you all had approved previously informally.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to ratify the purchase of a plotter for the Recorder's Department that has been made already, and just want to ratify that action.
We've been, Commissioner Adams motions to ratify 250 horsepower plotter to be purchased. And do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gray Eyes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We shall proceed in purchasing the plotter. Okay, as we go down, consideration adopting resolution authorizing the annual renewable lease, a master resolution, security documents, and the insurance sales of the authorized and the local building authority. San Juan County, Utah lease review, revenue bond series. Do we have those documents in place?
We do.
Okay, you want to go ahead and present those so we can take an action on them?
Sure. I'll just summarize what we're talking about here. These are what I was talking about earlier before I figured out I was talking about the wrong thing. This first set of documents, they're very similar to what you're going to be talking about in the local building authority as well. But basically, this is a series of documents that authorize the county to enter into the necessary agreements and execute the right kind of resolutions to allow you to accept the money that you're borrowing through the CIB process to help pay for the road department facility that is going to be constructed soon. So this is just at the request of our bond counsel. This is the first resolution that you'll pass, and then there'll be a second one that you talked about in the building authority. And as a part of that building authority one, you'll also establish the need for a public hearing to happen at the the July 16th meeting.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution authorizing the annual renewable lease and master resolution concerning bond documents.
Commissioner Adams
Second.
motions and second by Commissioner Gray Eyes. Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I'll make a
Anything?
motion that we go into our local building authority meeting.
A motion is made to go into a local building authority meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gray Eyes. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We are officially in local building authority meeting.
So this is-
Materials?
Just really quickly, this is, again, the same thing, just for what it's worth. It's always a little bit of a convoluted deal, but what you are authorizing through all of this is for your local building authority to actually be the organization that receives the money from CIB and executes the loans and that kind of thing. And then the county will then lease the building from the local building authority. And not totally sure I understand why that has
Well,
happened,
I can explain a little further,
That would be great.
if
I've
that'd be
never understood
helpful.
this.
If we don't do this, it becomes an offset to our PILT payment that we get from federal government for all of the land that is BLM or so forth. And we get a PILT payment over $1 million a year. If you if you take mineral lease money, because it is from those lands, and you don't do it through your local building authority, then whatever money you get from the CIB becomes an offset, and your PIP payment is reduced. So that's the reason we do it this way.
Got it.
Good.
Fancy
Explanation.
workarounds.
Thank you.
Okay, so
I'm here to do all the tutorials.
it's a beautiful thing. So, all we need is a motion on that resolution is.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gray Eyes. Do I have a second?
We'll second the adoption of the resolution by the local building authority for the lease revenue bonds.
A second was made with the directive, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to come out of the local building authority meeting.
Second.
We are now
I'm
going
tired.
out of the local building authority meeting, second by Commissioner Gray Eyes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We
Back to
are
the-
out of
The main road.
Okay, commission report.
Commission.
Commissioners, you have any reports?
I'll be glad to start.
Okay.
I attended the CIB training and retreat last week in Vernal, Utah, where the water is running high in the Duchesne River. And I brought back the training booklet and gave it to David so that he can have it on file here in the county office in case anybody needs to look at state or federal statutes or any information about CIB. I'm leaving tomorrow morning to go to Torrey, Utah for a retreat and training with Utah County Indemnity Pool, which I serve as president of the County Indemnity Pool. I'll be there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Receive that training. I'll bring back appropriate documents to give to David as well, and that's pretty much my report.
Good, good. Commissioner Gray Eyes?
Right now, we're working with an organization called Dig Deep, nonprofit organization, Navajo Mountain, who's doing installation for water tank and the system to those homes on Paiute Mesa. They'll have hopefully have water truck also purchased pretty soon to deliver potable water to each home to alleviate the each individual's homeowners doing those details themselves. And came to a commission meeting, I believe, on the 13th. And then traveled to Chinle on the 7th for reauthorization of a grant school operation at Nonstop Community School. I attended the what they call 7 County Infrastructure Coalition meeting in Vernal, Utah on the 13th. I had a chapter meeting on the 12th down there at Navajo Mountain. I attended as soon as I was lucky enough to just leave and then call directly McKeith. Say, when is the meeting? Figuring that I had established 14 to be the main meeting. And his response was, tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So I had to hightail all the way up to Green River that evening, finally. And I promised to stop by Moet, but man, my hours were going by fast, like I was driving down the highway, so ended up there in time. My main reason for attending that is I'm an appointed member, and also my projects, which are water and sewer lines, and also access between Ojeto and Navajo Mountain. So those are.
Willie, you might report on the CIB made an award to SCIC.
Yes, I heard it while you guys were doing it upstairs. I heard it a little bit. I guess the wind went around clockwise there, so I heard it that some $30 million.
21.4 million, and they received 6.8 million at a prior meeting. So it's about $28 million to do this, all of the studies on the railroad.
Right.
And I might say that railroad comes up Indian Canyon. They tunnel in a circle and come out at Soldier Summit.
Mm-hmm.
with the rail.
Yeah. So that's going to be a good plan that they're going through with it, and finally I got a chance. They have 31 study plans just to get to select one out of those.
Yep.
But some residents are still opposed to it, and the developer or the engineers that are planning to develop that they still have an open ear to listen to those people. So it's going to be good. And one of them that I suggested to them that it's on the list is what recommendation was made, that the line railroad runs to Moet. Why don't you run it down to Monticello, across San Juan River, either go through Chinle to connect to the line from Gallup to California, because the railroad goods are being transported probably to Las Vegas or somewhere, and they're transported up here. This is the route. There'll be a lot of benefit to the Navajo people transporting their goods, their rugs and baskets and stuff like that for sale up here. Either that or go down to Four Corners and to Gallup that way. And we were talking about maybe connecting the Black Mesa Page Railroad, but now that's both the mine and the power plant is no more to be to next year, 2020. So
I just wanted to add to mine too that we had the PRCA rodeo here Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week, and had 15 NFR contestants over the 3 days. And I can't remember his name, Sitna Ginny, the roper.
Oh, yeah.
And who's the other
from
one?
Tuba City.
Yeah, and
Copper mine.
Aaron
Yazzie.
No, it was
Eric
Rogers. Eric Rogers.
yeah.
And Eric Rogers won the roping.
Ah,
He took first place in the roping, in the team roping.
team roping.
And it was probably, in my opinion, the best rodeo we've ever had, the best PRCA rodeo. And there was, I'd say, a third of the contestants were Navajo.
Yeah.
Boys.
I was unable to attend,
It was really good.
but I see your buckle.
Yeah, I got a bull riding buckle. I don't wear it very often because Kenneth gave it to me.
It's only good for
He
spaghetti.
rode
I
a
didn't ride the
bear.
bull, I just got
He
the
rode a
buckle.
bear, real bear. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what happened, and was able to attend Western, what we call Western Navajo Agency Council. It's made of all the chapter officials, grazing committee member. Of the 18 Navajo chapters within the Western Agency, we all converge, come together at one point and also do the same thing as we do here. Presentation, pass resolution and stuff like that. Was able to go over there and meet with,
President.
shook hands with President Johnson Nez, talked about the what we were concerned with in terms of what we need to do, and I gave him a card, and he said, "Yeah, I'll go ahead and schedule." I also was able to contact Garrett and talk to him.
Silversmith.
And we set up the 28th, the date that he's gonna call for location somewhere.
June.
I have to do a follow-up. You're invited also, Bruce.
28th of June?
Yeah.
Okay.
Time and location will be set by him, so. And, where was that? Anyway, tomorrow it'll be, I'll be in Flagstaff, near Flagstaff, attending a natural resource, Navajo Nation Natural Resource Summit all the way through the 27th, and I'll be, maybe he might be there. Again, Mr. Nez and Mr. Silversmith, so.
Good.
That's my report, and I'm trying to meet busy every day. I always only had two Sundays off. That was about it for the month of June. The rest are all, but I enjoy it. I love it. Talking to people, learning about the good side. They probably do give me the bad side, but I give it to somebody else.
Okay, thank you, Willie. Good work, commissioners, good report. I didn't go nowhere, I kind of stayed around. I attended the Anna chapter meeting, and people were pretty quite riled about Navajo Utah Mission. So they passed a resolution to dismantle and also to do away with the Navajo Utah Mission. So I don't know what the issue was. I just really didn't bother because I went ahead and did my road report, and people are quite upset with the nation to not coming to meet with us. And other than that, we monitored the river. I called the sheriff's office and David, and the river started rising, and people that lived alongside the river and had the equipment, farming equipment that was alongside the river, they had to remove all of those. And we had chapter meetings that I've been to, Red Mesa, Tucson, Anna, and Mexican Water. Still asking for the resolution of support to have the county start doing the maintenance work on that. And other than that, the Navajo Utah Mission meeting took place, and there's going to be some other meeting that's going to be taking place throughout the week, so I haven't traveled, or I'm not traveling yet. So that's the sum of my report, and I'll still be around, and I'll be phone call away.
Make a motion, we go into executive session to discuss litigation, imminent litigation.
Okay, we'll go into executive session. All those that you would like to stay, that's your call, Bruce, and who would you like to have leave?
Just Kendall.
Just Kendall.
Yeah,
Okay.
and David.
Okay, David too?
You throwing Kendall out or?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Check the mail.
I lost my notes. This is my
Oh, is that what it is?
Thank God.
I was trying to recognize that.
Real quick.
Hill Air Force Base doing a bombing run. Hill Air Force Base doing a bombing run out eastern
We had our PRC, you know, that's a big deal. I didn't like the animals, Bruce liked them, they laid down, but anyway, the weekend before, we had motorcycle thing out at Bull Hollow. You heard about that?
Yeah.
How many? 3,000 4,000 people. That's the biggest thing that ever happened in this county, right? Unless you had something on the rest. Anyway, I got to follow up on that. The guys downstairs